Welcome back to the Big Turbo V8 build series. In this episode, I'll be making a very unnecessary mess with my stock seats and installing some ones. Yeah. So one problem I've had with this car, basically since the day I bought it, is the factory seats. They're comfortable to an extent, but they really lack bolstering, both for the sides and for the shoulders. And now that my car is more of a performance car, I do find myself wanting more side bolstering and just more support for overall driving. And that's where Corbeau comes in. So back when I was about 17, a friend of mine got some Corbeau racing seats for his EK hatch, and I was a huge fan. I thought they were really comfortable and just kind of like the perfect racing seat for his setup. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me when I decided now's the time to get some new seats. Who should I go with? Corbeau. I've seen Corbeau seats on a handful of different cars at car shows and whatever, and have always liked how they looked. And a friend of mine, Dakota Stone, shout out Fitment Industries, he had basically the same seats that I got in his Focus ST, and I really enjoyed them, so it kind of sold me on them at that point. And I've also seen Corbeau out there supporting YouTubers like B is for Build. So when I decided it was finally time to get new seats, I hit up Corbeau just kind of on a whim saying, hey, I've got this build series, I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. I've always loved the Corbeau seats, and they're more than happy to sponsor part of the build. And that led to me choosing the Corbeau RRS vinyl reclining seats. And yeah, that came in this big ass box, and I'm stoked. So let's get to the install.
The old saying that good things come in small packages must have been on its lunch break today, because these seats are awesome. So to start out, I grab my ever-useful triple square set and begin removing the 4 bolts holding the stock seats in, which you'll want to do on a fully charged battery, otherwise moving the seats takes an eternity, if they move at all. Because this is an overcomplicated Volkswagen Audi car, there are several components to unplug underneath the seat. I at least tried to get footage of their removal. But now I can undo the seat belts and remove the seats from the car, and really learn how unbelievably heavy these behemoths are. Oh my god. And as I mentioned, there is a lot going on under these seats. I didn't follow any sort of tutorial for this one, so I just started taking things apart and tracking down necessary wires and transferring stuff over to the new seat, leaving back the seat heater, electronic seat controls, and side airbag connections. Corbeau also supplies custom seat rails for specific applications, so I obviously am using seat rails for a B8 Audi A4, which bolt up without any trouble and make easy work of installing components from the old seat. With the seats assembled and ready for install, I made the executive decision to vacuum out the car because it was nasty under those 10-year-old seats. Now it's time to basically just do the reverse of the removal. And with a little experience in this category under my belt, it's quite a bit easier this time around. Connect a few plugs, screw in 4 bolts, reattach the seatbelt, and voila!
So overall, I'm very happy with these seats. They're very comfortable, very bolstered, pretty much exactly what I was looking for. And you might be wondering, like, why didn't I go with an OEM Plus route? Why didn't I go with an S4, RS4, RS5, RS3 seat? And trust me, I have looked for probably years at other OEM Audi seats to go with, and at the end of the day, I don't want used seats. You know, like you buy a used car and you kind of deal with that it was somebody else's, but if I'm going to buy seats, especially if I'm going to be spending a lot of money on seats, because Audi seats are really expensive, I don't want to be sitting in someone else's farts. Even if the person that owned the seats before me was very clean and not gassy, it's still, I don't know, not for me. So if I'm going to be buying seats to go into my car, they're going to be new, at least in this car. And you might also be asking, like, why would you kind of like downgrade as far as like features go? And I can totally see that point. Like, some people really like the lumbar adjustment and the electronic seats in general, the heated seats, and I could totally see that argument. I personally prefer a little bit of simplicity, so having the manual seat rails and manual seat tilt adjustment is kind of preferred for me. The less that can go wrong, and honestly I think the electric seats take way too long to move. The one thing I probably will miss is heated seats, but I don't really drive the car in cold weather anymore, so I won't miss it that much. And if you did want heated seats, Corbeau does offer that option on this model. I just didn't see it as a necessary cost, really. So without the necessary electronics that come with the seats, I do have an airbag light, I do have a parking brake light, and it is something that you kind of have to keep in mind if that's something that's really going to bug you when you put seats like this into a car. Maybe it's not the route you want to go with, but like, I know what they're for, so they don't bug me that much. So, like typical Volkswagen Audi fashion, I will have a lit up dash. But as far as the seats themselves go, I am really impressed with them. They basically are exactly what I wanted. They're not like super fixed back bucket seats that you might find in a race car. And if this was more of a race car, I probably would go with an option closer to that. But I do like to drive my car regularly, so I wanted something that's a little more comfortable, a little more adjustable, and that's basically what the RRS offers. So the bolstering is just perfect. It's not too aggressive, and for the average sized person, it's not too tight. I also really enjoy that it kind of forces my arms into like a driver's position instead of kind of like driving like this, like in the normal seats, because it really kind of makes me sit straight forward, and it just kind of makes it feel more like a driver's car. Another thing about the seat rails and the mounting position is that it does set me a little bit closer to the steering wheel. I'm a little above average height, I'm 6'4", so it's okay for me. Like, I can put the clutch down, my leg isn't straight as it shouldn't be because that's not safe, so it is still bent, but if you're 6'4" or above, it is something to consider. You might need to modify the seat rails a little bit or make your own, but that's kind of how it is for me. I'm happy with it, but somebody else might not be. The last thing I want to touch on with the seats is the material. It's honestly really impressive. That was the one thing that I was most worried about with this car, because it does come with leather interior, so I didn't want to stick like subpar material in the place of the stock seats, kind of like a downgrade. So I was kind of on the fence of getting the like faux leather versus actual leather, because Corbeau does offer these seats in an actual leather covering, but they're about twice the price. So I was really on the fence for a long time about which ones I should get, and I could kind of fake that I'm like an environmentalist and say that I just did it for cow's sake, but I would be lying. I just wanted to save cost, and I was kind of worried at like how the material would look, but I'm very impressed with this vinyl material. It's not shiny, it really is like a comfortable, nice, soft material, and the like pattern of it, I don't know if that's what you call it, like the imprint, really does match the rest of the car, the leather and even like the material on the dashboard. So I was super happy with that, and I think they go with the interior perfectly. And overall, the seats are very comfortable. I am 100% happy with my purchase, and I think you would be too if you decided to go down the route of Corbeau. If you're wondering why I did this review in my garage instead of a driving review, might have some problems. But we will take care of that in the next episode. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.